This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to all the school. KC, hi for joining us this morning all the way from India. That's very exciting stuff. Now, if you want to ask us any questions, remember to just ask your teachers. But my name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is VM, and I am holding a spotlight, and I'm shining it around trying to find animals. Now, it's early in the morning here in South Africa, and we are trying to find lions. We have already seen a leopard this morning, very briefly, but he was running around into an area that we couldn't get him, so we'll see if we can maybe find him a little bit later. But my priority this morning is to find some lions. So that means we've got to search for them, and we've got to shine the spotlight. It's very difficult to see any footprints on the ground, so we can't really do any proper tracking just yet. And if I was going to, I'd have to have my face glued to the floor, looking for any footprints that may have been left behind. But it's a little bit, it's not really that cold this morning. It's just a bit cold when you start moving. Luckily, there's a few clouds overhead, and hopefully, well, I think that's actually what's kept a bit of the warm air in. So we'll see how that all goes. But it's probably going to be a quiet start to begin with. Mariah, now you've asked about the most dangerous animal in South Africa. Every animal is dangerous. However, I'm going to say the mosquito, the Anopheles mosquito, is the most dangerous animal, not even just in South Africa, but the whole of Africa. And the reason why I say that is because it's the mosquito that carries malaria. That's the one that makes everyone really, really sick. So we can get it even here, where we are at the moment, but this is called a low-risk area. If you go into the cities, though, that are surrounding these safari reserves, then you can actually have more of a chance of getting sick and getting malaria, because it's spread by people. So we as people are what we call a vector. So a mosquito will bite us, and the virus will get into our bodies, and then if a mosquito that doesn't have that virus bites us, it will pick it up. So that's no good. So we basically help spread it around. Okay. Right, now I had lion tracks a little bit further back, but I wanted to come and quickly just check down here to see if they didn't go this way, but I can't see anything more. The hard thing is, of course, trying to find these animals all by yourself. Okay, I think they go back. I think then we'll go all the way up where you tell access. Iron lions are very fast. They can run faster than you could ever dream of running, that's for sure. They're really big cats, so they can run up to about 70 kilometers an hour, maybe just a little bit more than that, but they can't run that fast for very long. They don't have very good stamina. So, you know, all the marathon runners that run many, many kilometers, they've got good stamina. The lions and leopards and cheetah don't have that. But something like a hyena and a wildebeest and even who else has got good stamina? Wild dogs, they've all got very, very good stamina, and they can run around for a long, long, long time, much longer than the lions, leopards and cheetah can. They get tired and then they have to lay down and rest. Okay, so this is hopefully going to be a nice sandy road to see if we can find more footprints of those lions. But before I drive, I'm going to have to concentrate. But it isn't just me taking on the safari. You get to go to Kenya now with David, and he is watching the sunrise. Oh goodness, sorry everyone. It seems as though there's some problems with David's voice. He's lost his voice. Oh well, I'm sure he'll find it again. Did you see some there? BM has just said he's Seen some tracks on his side of the road. Perfect, thank you, BM. Let's have a look. It is them. Wonderful. Okay, they're going up here. Now we start another search. It's hard to see. Very, very difficult to see the tracks on the ground. Right, it seems as though they've managed to fix David's voice. So off you go to the Mara to hear David for the first time and to see the sun rising for the second.
A very good morning and hello boys and girls of KC High School in India. Welcome to our safari morning drive all the way from Kenya in East Africa. We are in a game reserve called the Mara Triangle. Imagine a few minutes ago you were in South Africa, which is about 3,700 kilometers away or 2,300 miles from here. And now you're in a different country and we have a morning sunrise. You look at that sunrise and you tell me, how is the sunrise that you see from your school? And I want you to compare your sunrise and the sunrise we are showing you from the Mara Triangle in a country called Kenya. How beautiful is that? And I'm sure you all know the sun rises from the east. So I would call that the eastern horizon. And you see the ball of the sun is pushing up through those clouds there. Maybe those clouds could be telling me we might have some rainfall later, maybe not. But from where I am in East Africa or in this country called Kenya, we might be having the short trains that will be coming anytime in the next few weeks. How beautiful is that? And boys and girls, my name is David. And on the camera with me is Manu. Manu, good morning. When Manu does that, that to him means good luck. Will you believe it? So welcome. Boys and girls, we'll request you one thing only. Ask me and Taylor and all of us out in the field as many questions as you can. If you see a nice comment and you want to ask, are those African elephants or Indian elephants? Please, through your teachers, ask questions. Ground animals will sleep like where they are, and I'm sure you can tell those are elephants. And when it gets dark, if they're small animals and it is cold, they might go like to the forest. If you look in the background of your screen, there's a big forest there. So the small animals might go there. What you're seeing on your screen is what we call the African elephant, and there are two small babies next to her, and that is the mother of one of those calves. A baby of an elephant is called a calf. So when it would get cold, she may take them to that forest to sleep because they are young and they don't get sick at night because of the cold. How exciting and how lucky it is for you boys and girls to start the safari with the sunrise and elephants. I'm sure you know in India you also got elephants, like what you see here. But I'll tell you one thing, the African elephants are different from the Indian elephants. Shelty, the animals here, like the elephant you see, are herbivores. And I like your question. I'm surprised at your young age you can tell a herbivore. A herbivore, for the rest of you who may not know, are animals that eat green matter. Sometimes we call them vegetarians. But we also have other animals that don't eat green matter or grass or leaves or twigs, but they eat meat, and we call them carnivores. If you look at that elephant carefully, you notice she is missing a tail. She got like a little stump, or her tail is missing. It could have anything that might happen to it when it is young, but once in a while we see elephants with short tail. I was saying before, these are what we call African elephants. And in India, you got Indian elephants. So there's one major difference between these two elephants. The African elephant, both the boys and the girls, have tusks. But the Indian elephants, it's only the boys that have the tusks and not the girls. Isn't that exciting? So you can see that young one there is eating and not very far from the mother. So we'll be showing you all types of animals around here, and I got a friend of mine again all the way in South Africa who will show you something different from the elephant here.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, David. I do believe this is your favourite bird as well as many people out here. Oh, and off he's gone. It is the most photographed bird here in South Africa in the Lowveld, called the Lilac-breasted roller. And the light is not very good at the moment, so I'll show you a picture soon to show you exactly what it looks like, because the colours aren't really doing their full justice. But good morning, everybody. Good morning, boys and girls. KC Hi, welcome. My name is Steve, and I'm joined on camera by Senzo Mkize, and we're out in South Africa in the cool morning dawn, and it is a beautiful morning. Please, as I'm sure you've been told, ask your teacher some questions. Send them through to us. Let's know what you want to talk about. I know you're interested in habitats, and talking about this bird over here, the lilac-breasted roller. If we can have another little look at him there, please, Sens. The tree that it's sitting on is a pretty large tree, but it is dead. And the lilac-breasted roller is one of the birds that nests in old cavities created by woodpeckers. So if a tree gets killed, or if it just gets insects inside, and the woodpecker comes along and tap, 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 opens up a little bit of a hole, well, this is one of many birds that use these trees for their breeding, and they have a little nest in a small cavity. There was a second one here just before, and it has flown off. But when we talk about habitats, habitat is the area an animal lives in and rears its babies. So it's very important to understand that not only does this individual, oh, there he's talking, need to find food, he also needs to have a suitable place to have his babies. And I'll show you a picture now of how beautiful this bird is. It's got some incredible colors. Look at those colors. It looks like someone's taken a drawing or a coloring drawing and just given it to a child, and they've used every single color possible. Let me show you one more. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that gorgeous? And you want to know what type of vegetation we have here? Well, if Senzo pans out slightly, and you'll see in front of us here, we are in what we call the savanna biome. And the savanna biome is where we are. It's really, it's the biggest biome in South Africa. And it has got basically a mixture between grasses and trees. We are right at the end of winter. We're into summer, to spring already. We're expecting a little bit of rainfall, which is going to bring the leaves back on the trees and turn the grass green. This is part of what happens in South Africa, the dry season and the wet season, and we're moving into it soon. And now the birds are slowly coming back from overseas to come and do their breeding in this, their favorite habitat. Well, we're hoping to find you some very special animals in this area, in their native habitat, and we're looking for some tracks of a male leopard that was seen last night. So we're going to see if we can find him for you. He is quite a thuggish looking leopard. I haven't seen him in some time, and he just arrived back on the scene last night to chase around one of our favorite young leopards. Gave him a bit of a fright. We'll see if we can find him. I got an update on the radio because I've got an earpiece here. We're talking with the other vehicles as we move around to maximize the surface area that we can go on. And someone told me where they last saw him. And in that area, we've had him catching warthog before. So we're going to go check the little warthog hotel quickly and see if he's maybe sitting there waiting for a little warthog to come out. Because Senzo and myself have seen him twice in that area killing warthogs. So maybe we'll be lucky. It's just a little bit of a guess, but who knows? That is how it works for us sometimes. Hello, Shakti. I'm not sure the animals do find it easy to live here. You say they seem to find it easy to live here. Well, we've got lions, we've got leopards, we've got hyena, we've got cheetah, wild dog, and they make it a very hard time for a lot of these animals out here. Essentially, these animals have to work very hard to keep themselves alive. And the weak ones, and the ones that wander off on their own, and the ones that are maybe a little bit not paying too much attention, well, they get picked off by the predators, and then slowly but surely the animals get more and more alert. So it's this constant battle between the lions and the leopards to be stronger and more stealthy, and for the animals to be more, well, quicker and more observant. So I wouldn't say it's an easy time out here for them. These animals, they do have a very hard time in the African wilderness, but it was a full moon yesterday, so it's a night of brightness, and because the moon is bright, it makes it very difficult for these animals, the predators, to hunt. So when it is a full moon, the animals feel a little bit safer out here, but when we get a windy day and there's no moon in the sky, well, the animals are pretty scared to be out here. And that's because we do have lions and many leopards moving around who use the cover of darkness and the cover of the movement of wind, because the wind makes all the leaves and the grass move. And we're going to show you some animals. They've got very big ears, so they like to listen. But if the wind is blowing, it's very difficult to hear the very stealthy approach of a leopard or a lion. This is their habitat. They've evolved in this grassland / savanna. And I know you've got leopards in India. They have got very similar strategies to these leopards. Very similar. And they're very efficient hunters. Solitary, just like the Indian leopards. You might find a female with a youngster, or maybe a mating pair. Hello, Shakti. Well, that's a very big question. Most like to eat. Well, when we're looking at herbivore animals in this area, they feed on, we've got a mixture. We've got a mixture that feed on grasses, then a mixture that feed on grasses and trees, and then a mixture that just feeds on the trees. So it really depends on which animals you're looking at. We'll find a few for you and talk about them as they go along. And then obviously your meat eaters, well, they eat meat, don't they? They eat the smaller and the larger animals that we find around here. And as I said, we're into spring, and hopefully the leaves of the trees are going to be coming back, because some of our animals are very hungry and are starting to get quite skinny. But before you ask the question, no, we do not feed them. This is 100% wild and natural environment, and they need to survive here on their own without human influence. It's very important. That is what a wilderness area is all about. So we're coming up this road to where this individual male leopard that we call Hukumuri, where he likes to hunt for warthog, because right up on the top here we get these little diggings that happen from an animal called an aardvark, which is an animal that digs into the ground for termites, and by digging into the ground it creates these huge holes in the ground which lots of animals use as their habitat for breeding. And warthog is one of the animals that like to hide inside those burrows. And we've got for you a beautiful animal over here. Let's just move forward. This is the most common antelope species that we find here in the Lowveld. This is called the Impala. And there's a group of males over here. There we go. He's giving himself a little bit of a lick. They like to clean the ticks off themselves using their teeth. And the Impala is a herbivore, and they feed on grass, and they can also switch to leaves, which makes them very successful in that regard. They live in most habitats in the Lowveld, from thick bush to open grassland. And they are very successful out here. And we would say they're the primary food source for pretty much all of the medium to large size predators. Lion, leopard, wild dog, and cheetah will all select these individuals. There are so many of them. There's a female at the back. Did you see her without the horns? There's a males in the front with the horns. They are all hanging together because no one wants to be on their own. No one wants to be on the outside of the group. They all want to be together so that they can keep their eyes peeled for a predator. And if there's lots of eyes, well, there's more time to have your head down and feeding. So from one herbivore to another, David Gitu up in the Masai Mara has got one of the prettiest animals around.
Well, boys and girls, now we have a different herbivore. I don't remember who had asked me or which student was talking about herbivores. Now we have a bigger herbivore than what Steve had, and this is a zebra, and I'm sure you all know zebras. And just to let you know, zebras are my favorite animals or my favorite herbivores. Only for one reason. I have always liked the pattern or the stripes on the zebras, black and white. I'm sure you will be sending through as many questions as you can, as we have requested you. But in the meantime, I now want to pose a question for you. And I want you to tell me, are zebras black with white stripes, or are they white with black stripes? So if you can, tell me, do you think zebras are black with white stripes, or are they white with black stripes? Just look at them carefully and let me know what you think. So what would happen? I want you to know that we compare zebras to horses. I'm sure you have all seen horses, and zebras and horses are in the same family. You look on the face, look on the mane, on the neck, and you can tell they're all similar in a way. Look on the tail, it's just like of a horse. So zebras and horses are in the same family. And of course, they are also herbivores, as I said earlier. And what they're doing, they're just eating grass. Ian, we got animals that migrate, and that's a very good question, because luckily you have that particular type of animal on your screen. The zebras that you see there do migrate, and I'm surprised you can use the word migrate or migration. Very good. So apart from zebras, we have also other animals that migrate that are called wildebeest. So these two types of animals, zebras and wildebeest, migrate, and they move for thousands and thousands of kilometers. The other animals may migrate also, but they don't move as many kilometers. So the animals that move many kilometers are zebras and wildebeests. You can see the beautiful work Manu, the camera operator, is doing, and you can see the hill in the background there, and near that hill, or on top of that hill, that is where the camp we live in is. So we live on that camp up there. So boys and girls, do you see that hill in the background? Our camp is around there, and from there we should have a great view of the Masai Mara Triangle. We can see the animals like the zebras you see there eating in the open area. So zebras in general tend to eat in such open areas, and they do not go in the areas that are thick or areas that are not very clear. And the reason for that, they want to be safe. They want to make sure animals that would hunt them, like lions, they can see them before they get them. So zebras, wildebeest will tend to eat in open areas like this. And zebras move in big groups. It's very unusual to see one, like that one looking at us. Hello there. It's very unusual to see one zebra or two. They always go in groups. Very good light this morning. when you see them flicking their tails like that, is if there are any flies, that's how they get rid of the flies. Marrakesh safaris are very safe to do. And what you'll do when you come here, I'm sure you'll be big, you'll come with your mom and with your dad. And we'll always keep you in the car. We are not going to have you out on your own. And so long as you're in the car, Marrakesh, it will be very safe for you. So one day when you get a bit older, or when your parents have the time and they have saved enough money, they can bring you to Africa. And Marrakesh can tell you it is very safe to come on safari. There are no concerns at all. All right, so we're going to be making a move. I'm sure you have enjoyed those zebras, and we try and go look for other different animals for you. Ooh, okay, Manu, how is it back there? Very good. It's a lovely morning. We are doing about 17 degrees Celsius and 64 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sure maybe back home you use more Celsius than Fahrenheit to know the temperatures or to say the temperatures. I want to show you how the Mara looks from a distance, and we have something else that we call hot air balloons, that should you, Marrakesh, come to do a safari in Africa, is another way of doing safari. And you'll see from a distance something floating in the air, and that's what we call a hot air balloon. And you can see how beautiful Masai Mara is. So we have all types of vegetation, open areas with grass, small little forest, big forests, scattered trees here and there. So generally, that's how the Mara looks like. Isn't that wonderful? I would want you to compare the Mara to the area maybe near your school and tell me whether you have anything in common in terms of the vegetation. So we're just showing you where we are, or how the Masai Mara or the Mara Triangle looks like. This is the game reserve we work in, and then you tell me how it looks where you come from. So you notice as you look on that, on your screen, the openness of that area, and you compare to Taylor where she is and Steve where he is, we have more open area here in the Masai Mara than we have in Djuma. So just keep watching that and see the openness, and you can see all the way to the horizon. When we shall go back to South Africa, you will notice that we have a different vegetation, and you have more thickets there than we have here. And that's why we have lots of wildebeest and zebras than maybe we may have in Djuma in South Africa, because of the openness and the amount of the grass or the amount of food available where we are. Beautiful sky you can see there. Very good. You can see more zebras in the background there. See the amount of zebras there compared to what we were watching before. This is just the other side of the road from what we were showing you before. And I think those are so many zebras just munching or grazing there. And there are a few antelopes that, if you look walking there, that we call topis, T-O-P-I. So herbivores tend to hang around or to stay together. And when they stay together like that, should they see any animal or predator like a lion that would want to come and catch any one of them, they can always alert each other. We call that safety in numbers. And I'm sure once in a while, when you go out on a tour, your teachers always tell you to stay together so that nobody gets lost. So it's the same case here. Very good. We've got so many animals that like to chase the zebras, either to eat them or something. And now let's go to Taylor and find out what she is looking for.
Well, we're not. Well, yes, we are looking for the things that like to chase zebra and topi, but there's no topi here where I'm driving around, not in this area. So our lions that we've been tracking all morning, we found their tracks eventually, and we followed them, but unfortunately they go into an area where we cannot drive. We don't have traverse there, so we can't drive everywhere, unfortunately. There's only certain places that we can drive. So they've gone out of our area. And then that leopard I was telling you about in the beginning, he was just briefly seen now drinking water from one of the pans, but he has gone in some very, very thick vegetation, and we can't actually follow him. So we can just hope that eventually he pops out back on a road. There's just too many drainage lines and things for us to be able to drive there, and lots of trees all packed really closely to one another, so we won't be able to get through them. But he's hungry, obviously. He's a young male leopard by the name of Hosanna, and we see him all the time. And yesterday he almost got into a lot of trouble from a big male leopard who had stolen Hosanna's dinner, or lunch. This is actually lunch. So yeah, so he learned a very good life lesson yesterday. So leopards don't really like one another. Now, iron, we found lots of different types of water bodies. We're actually going to get up to one. Have we gone past it? No, I think we're coming up to one now. So there's lots of man-made watering holes in South Africa, but they're trying to take some of them down. So unfortunately, with all the fences and things like that that people have put up, they've stopped the animals from traveling and going to find water elsewhere. Let me go up onto this ridge. But down here, this is a mud wallow. This is a natural area where water is gathered. So we don't put any water in this thing. This is called a mud wallow. And how this mud wallow was created was probably after some really, really big rains. Maybe something like an elephant or a hippopotamus came walking on through here, and because they're so big, they would have left a big footprint. And then maybe some more elephants walked through, and they would have left more footprints. And then something like a warthog would have got, if you don't know what a warthog is, think of Pumbaa from Lion King. Then they'll go, oh, that's a nice place to have a bath or a mud wallow, because they like to put mud on their skin. It's their favorite thing to do. And I bet some of your moms pay lots of money to go to the spas to get covered in mud. It's beautiful and good for your skin. Well, the animals do it for free. Anyways, and he would roll around in there, and then he'd call his friends to say what a good spot it is, and then they'd make it bigger. And then maybe a rhino would go, oh, that's actually awesome. That's a very good space. Move over, warthogs. And then he would come and wallow around, and then eventually that gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and fills up with water. And then animals sit in it and splash the water out and dig it out. So that's a natural area, but that would be a seasonal pan then. It doesn't really, there's no water in it in winter, or the dry season. We're not in winter now, we're in spring, but in the dry season. And then, like I said, there's the man-made dams, and then there's lots of little natural catchment areas too. And rivers, of course, there's rivers that go through here. We don't have any rivers that have water in them. They're very sandy, and I've only seen them flow on a few occasions, but there wasn't very much water in them anyways, maybe just ankle deep. So we're just pretty much going to keep checking around for this leopard, because we've seen him now. We know he's here. He's just somewhere. Maya, luckily Emma told me, because I didn't know what the temperature was, it's 19 degrees Celsius. It's warming up very quickly. I mean, I could probably take this jacket off now, but I'm just cozy, so I'm going to keep it on. But I've even got shorts on, so it really isn't too cold at all. It's nice. Today will probably be very hot. Every day it's so hot at the moment. It like gets to, how hot was it yesterday? Like 35 or something? 35 degrees Celsius. The other day we had it was 41. It was way too hot. So I'm just driving in here trying. That was a stick that my tire knocked up and then smacked the side of the car. That gave me a bit of a fright. Whew, gotta watch out for them. Sometimes they're so big they can actually hit you. I'm just trying to have a little look around to see this is, if the leopard has come out here. He likes to come out here. This was an old hyena den. And there's porcupine. From what I've seen, there's probably a porcupine and a warthog that lives in that burrow now. I'm just going to see if I can hear any birds. I'm sure you can hear all the birds, but they're not shouting that there's a leopard. That's what we want. Okay, so nothing here. So it seems to be very quiet here in South Africa. Let's jump on board with Steve to see if he's having any better luck.
Well, thank you. We found tracks of that male leopard, and he kind of head directly into this area where we do have, well, I was saying about the Warthog Burrows. So here's a couple holes just on the ground off to our left-hand side. Not easy to really make out, but what it looks like is just a whole lot of sand that has been pushed up. We're right up on top of the slope now, and the aardvark likes to dig in looking for termites in the ground, and then they leave these holes. And there where you can see the sand is often excavated burrows underneath the ground that warthog like to spend the night in. That's how they keep away from lions and leopards at night. They hide inside those holes. And lots of other animals, porcupine, honey badger, snakes, lots and lots of small mammals like to live inside things like that. It is what they do, and is how they survive out here. Also, having a hole in the ground means that when it's very hot in our summer, it gets up to 40-45 degrees Celsius in the summertime, they can go under there and it's nice and cool. And at night as well, it stays a similar sort of temperature. It doesn't get too cold. We don't freeze here, but it gets pretty chilly in winter. So what we've done is we've come to this area and we've just switched off, and we want to turn into an animal and open our ears very loudly, because what happens is if any of these animals see a leopard or a lion, they start to make all sorts of alarm calls because they don't like them and they shout at them. So that's very important when we drive around, to open your ears. And you can do this with your hands. You put your hands next to your ears like this and you can listen. You can hear lots more when you do that. Are you all trying that right now? Very good. So in front of us over here is a big termite mound. As you can see it there. So that's the termite mound. That is what termites create above the ground, these really, really big mounds. Some people call them ant hills. They're not actually ant hills, they're termite mounds. They're built, it's a big colony inside there of termites, and it covers a really, really big area. And so that's why you have lots of aardvark diggings around here, ant bear diggings, looking for those. And that is what makes a very important sort of contribution to the livelihood of many, many, many mammal species out here. But the strongest animal in the world is by far the African elephant. I think we'll see if we can find you one of them, but they have moved out for the moment. We are in an area with no fences. The greater Kruger National Park is about 2.5 million hectares. It's very big, isn't it? And so the animals come and go. They move between areas of much better feeding than other feeding. Hello, the entire class. You want to know what elephants eat? Well, elephants feed on, in the summertime, they'll feed on grass. Almost completely grass, and then a few leaves. And then as the grass starts to get dry and loses a lot of its taste, they start to feed on leaves as well. And I'll show you a couple other things that they feed on. They like to push over trees. Oh, watch out there, Sens. Looks like the camera just rocked off. Sorry about that. They like to feed on trees and also on the bark of the trees. They can push the tree over and feed on the roots, which are underneath the ground. I'll try to find you some elephant feeding behavior. You'll be able to see exactly what the elephants have been doing. They are very, very big and very strong, and they feed on all of the vegetation that they can. They don't struggle too much because they're able to just push them over and take the roots up, which is very, very important element for elephants. And that is why, one of the reasons why they got those big tusks is to stick it into the tree, to rip the bark. I'm just trying to find you a little piece. There's no fresh elephant activity at the moment. I want to show you some really fresh activity. But elephants have evolved in the savannah, the African elephant, and this entire environment is actually dependent on them for changing and mixing it up. Here we go. Here we've got a tree. Ooh, there was a bird that just flew off. Here we've got a tree just over my right-hand shoulder that's been pushed over. It is in fact a very small marula tree. You can see how the elephant has just snapped it there, and then they'll start feeding on the sticks and the branches that have fallen towards the ground. And everyone thinks, oh my word, how terrible, the elephants have gone and killed that tree. But I think the tree is actually still alive, but what it's also done is it's pushed it over and it's made a different shady spot. You see where those branches are on the floor? They are covering the area there, and slowly but surely over time, more grass and vegetation will grow there, which will make that little piece there a nice little micro habitat where lots of small birds, lots of small mammals will be able to spend their time. So not a big habitat. When we talk about habitats, they don't have to be very big. Habitat could just be your shoe. Just your shoe. Can you imagine that? If you left your shoe outside, if you've been running and running for a long time, it gets all sweaty and you leave it outside, well, it could turn into a habitat all on its own. So habitats don't need to be very large areas. They could just be a very small piece of land or ground, or even just a little patch underneath a piece of tree bark. And that is what the elephants do. They create lots and lots of these very small microclimates. So birds in the savanna biome love to perch on trees so that they can see very, very far. And up in the Masai Mara, there's not many trees for them to sit on, but they do need a good view.
Well, we got an ego now from our zebras that we saw earlier, and I'm very happy. At least you all have a feeling that zebras are white with black stripes, and we're going to keep that debate going, because I'm sure in the very near future we shall have you on another drive again, because my friend who I'm filming with today is saying he thinks it's the other way around. So we shall be looking at that, but I think you are all correct from the answer you gave me on the zebras. We got an eagle here, and this eagle is called the Long Crested Ego. And look at her, she's looking at you and saying jumbo jumbo. In Kenya, when we say hello, we use the word jumbo. And you can see the amount of wind that is blowing on her feathers. And we call her the long-crested eagle because if you look behind her head, you can see that crest or those feathers stretching out behind her head. And that's how she got her name, the long-crested eagle. She may look to be struggling to balance herself there, but she's there for a reason. If you look at her carefully, she is facing down or she is looking down. She is doing that because this particular eagle feeds on what we call rodents. Rodents include rats or mice, and she's up there struggling to balance because she needs to see what is happening down there. If she sees, say for example, a rat moving or a mouse moving, she'll just swipe and fly down and pick it up. Apart from rats and mice, they also eat other smaller reptiles, for example, lizards and skinks, sometimes small snakes. Most eagles in Africa will have feathers on their feet, and that's one big characteristic of all eagles. But we've got a few that don't have feathers on their feet. Look at the beak and see how hooked it is. And a hooked beak for an eagle tells you they tend to eat flesh or meat. So they use it just to get, for example, meat from the animal or from the prey they'll have hunted. And you can tell it's a very sharp beak if you look carefully there. It's like a sharp knife. And I'm sure you know people use knives to cut meat, so they also need that sharp beak to cut something. How nice. Hopefully this ego will be lucky to get a rat or a mouse, but in the meantime, we'll take you back all the way to South Africa to Steve to say maybe goodbye to all of you nice boys and girls. And from me and Manu, bye-bye from us in Kenya.
Thank you very much, David and Manu. Well, we found some zebra, and these are, I'm not sure if they're the exact same zebra that you saw with David before, the same species, but these are the plains zebra, the only one we find down here in the Kruger National Park. And what they are doing is they are feeding on grass on top of one of the termite mounds. And the reason they're doing that is that they feed on grass. That is what they do. They are grazers. But the termites, by recycling the nutrients, what they do is they break down the dead grass and the dead sticks. They break that down and they turn that back into very nice, tasty soil. So because the soil is quite tasty, the grass is quite tasty. And so you can see the zebras are choosing it because it is much better than the other vegetation. And as I said, we are in the dry season and these animals need to feed on the best that they can get. Well, thank you, KC High, all the way from India, for joining us this morning on your first school drive. I hope we'll see you again soon. I hope you learned something, and we will see you next time. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Hello everybody, good morning around the globe to all of you joining us. We have been following up on tracks of Hukumuri. He seems to have gone west. So he only popped in for a quick little stint. He didn't want me to see him. Sens and I have investigated the Warthog Hotel that he quite likes to visit, and his track's headed straight there. It's possible he's already been and gone. We didn't find him. So we're going to head off, pop our nose into the Hyena Den, and then head on towards our sort of eastern side of the property and see what is going on that side. If maybe Thandi and Kalamba would like to show their faces for us for a change, that would be fantastic. Oh. It is a beautiful morning here in South Africa, and I'm going to just quickly get past Okay, well, we're going to go over to Taylor, who seems as she's doing a birding morning.
No, we're not really doing a birding morning. We are doing a Winston Churchbill morning. Hello, friend. Who's very upset because I don't have snacks for him again. So, you can imagine this bird's frustration. Why do you always go to the back of the car? You can also hear, let's actually have a little listen to the birds. There's a woodpecker somewhere. Can you hear it?
I don't think it's in that tree. Oh, monkeys.
So the sound I wanted you to hear of the woodpecker is the territorial call of the bearded woodpecker. There was also an orange-breasted bushshrike calling, and there are 3 monkeys. Or maybe there could be 4. There might be 4 monkeys sitting on that tree. It's a bit difficult to tell, but they're all curled up. And there must be a troop that lives along here. It's a very clever spot to live. It's like where the only fruiting trees are at the moment. The jackalberries, there's lots of balanites trees. They're starting to get their leaves too. So it won't be long before their fruit starts to develop. Wonderful. I'm just quickly having a look. Now, so just a quick update on everything. Just to reiterate, because we obviously had the school drive. We saw Hosanna early this morning before the show even started. He slunk past us. And then he popped out at Gallagher Pan and he had a drink just before we got there. And then he went down the road. And do you remember when Sydney was following him on foot and had some great interactions with him on bushwalk? He's gone into that same area, so I know Sydney was struggling to follow him on foot. You can imagine with a vehicle, it's actually impossible. So we'll have to wait till he comes out, but he's hungry, so he's looking for something to eat. So off he went down on the drainage systems. Then Kuhumas have crossed into Buffalo's Hook. We checked all the way along Buffalo's Hook boundary just to make sure that they didn't turn and come back in, because they've done that quite a few times, and no luck just yet. So now we're kind of just driving along Hippo Pools Road, and I think we might do Cheetah Cut Line. I think maybe we'll even go down towards Chitwa and see what's lying that side. But other than that, I don't really know what to do now, because all our animals are gone. I'm so upset. I was so excited because I thought, yes, we're going to see lions on a kill. We've got 2 leopards on the property. This is going to be a great morning. It's overcast. It's nice and cool. Nope. All the animals have disappeared. They are hiding from us. Although we know them Kuhumas are just trying to find buffalo. Hello, Melissa, who's only 12 years old. I don't know if we'll see Hosanna again this morning. I'll be surprised. He's hiding away now. Like I said, he wants to find food, and if we keep following him while he's trying to find food in those drainage lines, he's never going to catch anything, because we're going to scare all the animals away. His cars make a lot of noise, but we also can't drive there. The trees are too closely packed against one another, so I can't squeeze through the gaps. We'll see. I don't know about any other leopards. Maybe we just miraculously bump into Tandy. I don't know, we'll just have to drive around and check. But so far I have not seen any more signs of leopards. Steve might be your best option. It sounds like he's following up on Hukamori down to the west. So we're kind of just switching places at the moment. This is one of Tandy's favorite areas, though. She likes it up here. So I'll try and keep my eyes, well, I suppose all over the show on the ground, and also scanning for animals. But she's a difficult one to try and find. She is a really difficult one. She just does loops and laps and serpentines and figures of 8s, and virtually impossible to try and find her. I wouldn't mind spending some time with a herd of elephants if we can find them, although they seem to be few and far between at the moment. Right. Okay. I think we're going to carry on going south, and hopefully we'll figure out what on earth is going on and if there's anybody else knocking about on Djuma. Back you go to David, who seems to be having a lot more luck with just all the animals in general.
I've decided to come to a different area, and if you look, the grass here is pretty short, and welcoming our regular viewers after the school drive. And this is one area where, again, as I said, with short grass, because there was some fire through here a few months ago. And once the fire dies and then we have some rains, we get short grass sprouting, which is very nutritious and very popular with the Thompson gazelles. Now, I've come to this area because seeing Thompson gazelles in this open area is always a very good area, and I would say it's a cheetah country for me. And the Tommies will always go for the shorter grass, and very unusual to see Tommies in thickets or grass that is pretty taller than them. They'll always be out in the open where they can easily spot their would-be predators. In this size, I would say these are the fastest animals I know, and you can tell from that speed when they are trying to jog and sprint early in the morning, everything being so fresh. Remember, this is a very interactive safari drive we have, so any questions that you may have or comment, hashtag safariLIVE. Just keep tweeting. So flicking the tails, I've never truly understood, is it because of flies or is it more of a reflex? I don't think we have as many flies now. It's still too early for flies to be out, but they've been so used to just keeping or moving their tails, and you can tell they're in their best condition as they keep jogging, maybe instead of eating, spunking, jumping around. So here we got both males and females with horns, and that male maybe is up to something, and that female may have to... Are you going to smell if she is in estrus? So sometimes you've seen them going and smelling once the female will pee to find out if she could be in estrus. Let's find out what kind of a bird Taylor got.
A really cool one. It is the favorite of a lot of our viewers, or a lot of you who are watching. It is the African Harrier hawk, or Gymnogene, is the old name. It's very carefully, well, it was searching the trees and looking in all the cavities, pulling back the bark, trying to find all sorts of wonderful things. That was nice. It's amazing how agile those birds are on the trees, but just a very quick view, I'm afraid. These kinds of sightings never really last very long. Let's see if I'm just going to go a bit further forward. We might get another view of it. The marula trees seem to be quite good trees. Lots of cavities in them. Let me see if I go past some of these bush willows, if we can get another gap. There we go. It's just flown down onto a smaller branch. Now there could be anything in there, from scorpions. We've been seeing a lot of scorpions actually, hiding in the crevices of trees. When Byron was visiting, he found us one. It's like his favorite party trick. There could be little skinks and other types of lizards. There might even be some squirrels. They eat a variety of different things. Snakes. Any little snakes curled up? But they're awesome birds. On to the next tree. It'd be really amazing if we could actually watch it. Giraffe gull, we were seeing this bird from a distance, although maybe it was a closer view than what you've seen before, but it was still probably about 80 to 100 meters away from where we were, so it wasn't close. You don't often get a close view of these birds. I'm just listening to the game drive radio. It's very quiet. I don't know, no one's really following up on the lion tracks, which is a bit sad, because I would have loved to have seen, or not seen, figured out where those lions went, or what they got up to, if they got catch something. Oh, hang on, here's an update. Oh goodness, okay, it sounds like those cats have moved quite far away. Cool, okay, so there's one person. I think Jackson has just started game drive, so he said he was quite interested in trying to find out where those lions went. So hopefully the next time we hear them on the radio, it will be telling us that they found the Nkumas. I doubt we'll be able to go to them. I'm sure they're going to be in bubbles. Look, they might even go back towards the Manuleti, so further north from where we are now. Very cool to see that bird. I haven't seen one in a while. We see them, just such quick glimpses of them. So it was nice to spend a bit of time with an African Harrier hawk. I'd like to be able to sit one day and out in the open, and probably not be live though, and just sit quietly and watch that bird and carry on. I've seen them catch a few things before when I was still guiding. It was always amazing. Like, obviously people were not really into it in the beginning, and then once they see how nimble they are and how they, start pulling back pieces of bark and sticking their heads and sticking their legs all the way into holes and things like that, everyone would get quite excited. And obviously never seen a raptor in that perspective before. So very cool. Right. Still no predator tracks. I haven't even seen a hyena track on Cheetah Cutline yet, which is bizarre, because normally this road is absolutely littered with footprints. It's such a nice road. The ground's not soft, but there's a nice sandy layer. Sarah, I'm still waiting for 100% confirmation, but it's looking very likely that it is the older Talamati male lion that is with the Djuma Pride at the moment and following the younger male around. But we're still just waiting for, I think, 100% confirmation. I know Michael Fleetwood has been working hard at it, and I actually honestly don't know where half of you find all the pictures from. Like, someone pulled up a picture from like 1997. I'm joking now, but it's like that far back. I don't know how you guys do that investigative work. I'm not tech savvy enough to do detective work on the internet, unfortunately. I think my stalking capabilities are limited to Instagram, and then that's about it. And that's all. So well done to all of you. But again, I'm not confirming anything, but it's looking fairly promising that that's most likely who it is. I haven't seen them before, though. I've never seen them. But Telemates. Right, some excitement now. We're moving away from birds and back to Steve. He's not looking for leopards, but he's found something else with spots.
We have indeed. We've popped into the Hyena Den, and Corky is sitting in her usual position, and her little youngster is licking her feet. It's very cute. Very, very cute to see the youngster out and about. Still haven't seen two, only seen one. Very special to be able to just pop down the road and see a young hyena. As we arrived, it seemed like it was actually busy suckling, and it's just moved behind the safety of Mum's back leg. Now she's wrestling with it with her teeth. Teething issues, I suppose. Later on in life, she's going to have a formidable jaw bite. Yes, everyone's excited to see the cuteness unfold here. There we go. Look at how formidable that one looks. It's just a baby bear, as everybody says. We're very blessed to be able to get views like this, and it's because we are sensitive. We don't just go careening in there. We're a good 35 meters from the den site, and because you've got nice cameras, there's no need to go any closer, is there, Senzo? Nope. So by this way, you can view the female and her youngsters very, very sort of sensitively, because whenever it comes to babies, it's very important to be extra sensitive. I mean, in general, out here in the African wilderness, we need to be sensitive to animals all the time. But when it comes to youngsters and den sites, if you influence it in any way, if you go too close or you just impede the animal's movement, you can cause them to abandon the den site. You can cause them to move off. I know the inquisitiveness of humanity is it's not our downfall, but it can be a problem sometimes. When it looks at baby birds or nests, people are inquisitive and want to look. They just want to check it out, and that causes birds to abandon nests, abandon breeding seasons, to completely move off. So I know we all want to see things, but sometimes it's best to be very sensitive and let nature unfold on its own. And this little youngster is stuck up behind Mum's bottom. And Diane, that's a very good question. I have no idea. It hasn't been discussed yet. I suppose you've just named it the Djuma clan, haven't you? I'm actually leaving for the Masai Mara tomorrow. I'll be up there for the next couple of months. So I am sure it'll be delivered. Tristan will be back tomorrow, and between Taylor, Tristan, Sydney, and James Hendry himself, who will be back in about 3 weeks, I'm sure they'll come up with some solution for the naming of this clan, obviously with the involvement of the Djuma guides and landowners. But I suppose Djuma clan just works, doesn't it? Beautiful little youngster. And someone informed me why Corky has been given her Corky, because she likes to cork her bottom into the hole where her baby is hiding. Lauren, you want to know if medicinal Mondays will continue? Well, it's going to be tricky up in the Mara. I don't really know too many of the trees up there. I suppose I'll have to learn them. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. It's not the same sort of element. I like to do my medicinal Mondays on a nice long walk. And you can sit yourself up underneath the tree. but I've no doubt Sydney will be able to entertain you with medicinal muti magic while I'm away. But I'll see how we go. I'll see if I can identify lots of trees and if I can find the relevant information. I can find the right information for them up there, and then who knows, we could continue the saga. But I won't be able to take all of my little implements and tools due to the fact that we're flying in and we have a maximum 15 kilogram baggage limit. So to be taking all of my necessary Medicinal Monday magical tools will, well, there's other things I will need to be taking, like warm clothes. And, yeah, well, anyway, that's for another day. This little youngster is just too cute. Mum's foot is a perfect pillow. Okay, well, it seems like Taylor has got his small carnivore. Let's quickly go have a look.
We do. We have a jackal. Now, it looks a little bit mangy. We're very far away from wherever I've seen our very mangy friend, that jackal that used to live at the airstrip. We're not anywhere near there. We're on Chitwa. But this one definitely has it. Or maybe it's recovering. It's hard to kind of say. But either way, I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be the other one. But that other one was so desperate. It was so thin. And it was middle of winter. It was freezing. It didn't have any hair on it. So for those of you that don't know what mange is, it's a parasite that feeds on the hair follicle of animals. And we do see a lot of it out here. It's not uncommon. Can you hear that, VM? All those birds. I'm just going to go forward. There might be an owl or something in the tree. I don't know where they're calling from. They don't sound very happy. Okay, can you see them? Where are they? There's a blacksmith lapwing on the Termite Mound. I'm just trying to figure out where on earth these other birds are. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's the testicular actually alarming at the jackal. You see this tree? Yes, it's in one of those little branches. If you go to the right a little bit, not on that tree, yeah, on this, there we go. Here we go, you can hear the rattling testicular. I couldn't figure out where it was, but it is alarming at the jackal. No, Justin, I cannot do a jackal call. You're welcome to try. I don't think I'd be particularly good at it, unfortunately. I don't know if that other jackal had any distinctive features, like, any nicks in its ear or anything. This one seems to kind of be quite clean. But again, it's very far away from where we last saw that jackal. So the chances of it being the same one are quite slim. It could just be another jackal that's picked up a bit of mange. But it's very difficult to kind of say. But it is nice to see the jackals. Very itchy and cold and miserable. Wonderful. We'll leave you alone. Stern, no, you can see jackals by themselves. That's actually how you normally see them. However, they're typically monogamous, so they live in pairs. Maybe that one doesn't have a mate. Who knows? But it is just on its own at the moment. It doesn't look like a youngster. It looks like an adult to me. It's fairly large. But yeah, no, they are quite social. Especially if they have young pups. When you're lucky in the Mara, David might be able to show you some jackal pups. You'll have the best chance. There's just a lot of alarm calls going on at the moment. I just heard sound like a frightened Franklin or something. Oh goodness, they frightened Franklin 20 times. Stopped now. Maybe it was a raptor. No, nothing. Probably just one overreacting, as usual. Thanks, Dr. Rob. You've said that jackals look more like coyote and not foxes, who I've never seen either. of those two species that you've just mentioned. Maybe one day when I'm big. I've seen a dingo before, and I've seen a timber wolf, and that's about it. Anyways, otherwise I've not seen anything else, and a jackal doesn't look like either a dingo or a timber wolf, so we can cross that out. So I'll take your word on it. Where? Okay, we're gonna go and figure out what's going on behind us, because the birds are losing their minds. Off we go to Steve, who's hyena, who seem to be a lot more compass mentis than the animals behind us.
Yes, well, there's a little youngster. He's really snuck up and hiding in amongst Mum's legs. Oops, Mum just pushed it down the hole. Gorky, that wasn't very nice. I think she might have heard something. Had a little bit of a lifted her head for a second. And now the baby has just scuttled back down into the cavity. It's a nice cool morning. The rest of the clan is probably still off doing certain foraging. Justin, it's pretty much in the heart of Djuma, just south of Philemon's Dip. Now, I'm just going to give this this map has gotten very dirty, so I'm not going to show it to you until I've given it. It's the what, sorry? The first old den, Senzo says. We're just here by Philemon's Dip. I'm just going to give this little map a wipe before I show it to you, because it is covered in all sorts of dirt and coffee, I think. Give me 1 second. Once it is looking a little bit more pleasing to the eye, I shall be showing you. Okay, here we go. It's a bit scratched though, but here we are just over there. Here's the den site, right here. They've denned here before. This is a den site that we've been checking for months and months and months. There's actually 2 termite mounds quite close to each other that apparently they're denned in. And so this gives them access really to every place on the property. Treehouse Dam is just here. Voitela Dam, watering hole's just up above. So it really does give them access to the whole area within Djuma. So we're very, very fortunate. Remember, Thandi spent a lot of time in this drainage area here over the January, February, March period with Tlalamba. Hukumuri was found here last night. Well, Senzo left him about there, and then his tracks went all the way across here, and we left them crossing out in this direction. So he's done his usual sort of route, and so there we go. That is where the hyenas are this morning. And very, very nice to be able to spend time with a den site just before I head up to the Mara. I was looking forward to seeing hyena up there, spending some time with the North Clan, and there are many, many numbers, 70 or so of them. That's one of the things on my bucket list, to see a huge clan of hyena coming in and chasing lions off a kill. Scott and Brent were seeing some magical sort of interaction in that regard. So that would be very, very special to see. We don't see those sort of interactions here. These hyena are very skulking, and they sort of come close to lions, but they don't get very close. The Nkuhuma pride has no tolerance for them whatsoever, and Hosanna just gives them a stare down. He's not too concerned, but that's why they've got to hoist their kills, or they will lose them. But in the Mara, you see the clans just completely overwhelm the prides of lion, which is really something I'm looking forward to bearing witness to. Just the sounds that go on when a clan of hyena get very excited, tails up, moving in their masses to outcompete the... Laura, you want to know about siblicide in hyena cubs? I mean, it's documented. It is documented, but I've never witnessed it myself. It's something I've read about, but it's only really something that happens with the dominant female, at the matriarch, that invariably the one young female with a sibling will essentially, they say, kill the other one, and they reckon that's got something to do with the genetics of the testosterone that the young female might have kind of accepted from her mother, and that ability to kill one's sibling is what will give them the cutting edge to be matriarch one day. That is kind of the story behind it, but I don't know too much about it. I've never witnessed it. I haven't spent enough time with hyena to actually see two cubs together and then one actually killing the other one. There's definitely dominance that goes on between the two, or the three, or however many pups there might be within a new clan. There's definitely lots of dominance that goes on, but I've never actually seen siblicide take place. It's very commonly known in your large raptors that they will kill the second chick, and that is all to do with competition, and it also gives them the cutting edge to be a successful fledgling when it comes to eagles, that is. But it doesn't make too much sense why you would want to kill your sibling. It just means you get more food, I suppose. But that whole ability to kill one sibling when you are very young gives you the sort of the mental power to eventually become the matriarch. But as I've been reading of late, and lots of viewers have been commenting, information on hyenas is changing, and so I think now when I go up to the Mara, I'm going to be spending a lot more time getting deep into the actual details of hyena clan activity. I'll spend some time with the researchers up there and get some first-hand knowledge of what they're being seeing. But anyway, we're going to move on for the den side shortly. We're going to head towards the east, see if we can pick up on any tracks of maybe the mating pair or even Thandi and Tlalamba. But while we get prepared to move around, we're going to go all the way back up to David in the Masai Mara. I'm not sure what he's up to, but I'm sure he has got something very, very interesting to talk about. Sorry about the technical issues there. I'm not sure exactly what has happened with David's audio. But you're back with us very briefly while we sort out that. We say goodbye to Corky for now. We'll see you later, my dear. She's a very relaxed hyena female. Just corking herself in there, protecting her youngster. Let's have another vehicle in the sighting here. I'm just going to make some space. You can come, Michelle. He wants to come and see the hyena. We're going to just get one more view of her here. One more view of her. And now that we've allowed the other vehicle in, we're going to move off. Don't forget, folks, this is interactive and we are live, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop through the hashtag safariLIVE any questions or feedback, comments you might have, or drop it on the YouTube stream. It sounds like they might have figured out David's audio issues up in the Masai Mara. So let's go all the way back up there and let's say good morning again to David.
Sorry, I had a bit of gremlin earlier. Back with my wildebeest, and you can see we got thousands of them around, and the migration is here to stay. Initially we were worried because it came in late. It could have left early, but I doubt that was the case. We still got loads of wildebeest and zebras in the midst, but of course more wildebeest than any other animal. And what a spectacle this normally is every year when they come around in the Mara Triangle. June, end of June, sometimes early July, but this particular year they came in very, very late, maybe mid-July. All what you can hear from where we are is and the males tend to be more vocal than the females. Not any other species of animals I know of that move in such masses than the wildebeest. Most of them are definitely pregnant now, the females. And when they head due south towards a park called Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, they'll be getting there, say, by end of January, and come mid-February that time around, they'll be dropping their calves. See, there'll be 1, 2 zebras in the midst of the hundreds or thousands of wildebeest. Very good camera work, Manu. Well done. This is what safariLIVE is all about. Annie, it depends. I mean, I have always watched wildebeest, and for no apparent reason, should just one of them jump, like they have seen a snake, or they have seen an imaginary lion and his stump, you'll notice all of them will just get spooked and stampede, going in an area or going in a direction where they think they'll be safe. So if one of them just mistakes or miscalculates or misreads the situation and she or he runs, Annie, everybody follows too. And then they'll stop, turn around, and just like, ask themselves, why did we have to run? That happens very many times. Like, Annie, when you watch them crossing the Mara River, and they decide we're going to cross from here, and then 1 minute they think, well, we might be having a crocodile here, and all of them turn around and out of the water, even if it's a rock they had seen. That's exactly what they do. So, this is the savanna wilderness that you see here, and the trees you see in the background are the torchwood trees, or the balanites, which are very iconic trees of the Mara Triangle. How beautiful is that? So the reason we came here, we have a pride of lion that we follow called the Sausage Tree Pride, and they have 2 small little calves. One of the females have 2 small little calves, and this is the area they tend to hang around. And my whole idea today is to just come and chance if we could see those calves, which could be exciting. But apparently also because this area was also burnt the other day and the grass is short, there's a possibility we might be lucky and maybe see a cheetah around. You can see the vultures flying out there. Good work there, Manu. And sometimes these vultures will always lead us, not necessarily, but sometimes lead us to a kill. And of course, if we end up getting to where the kill is, the killers could be the sausage pride tree that I'm thinking we'll be lucky to find today. Right now, I would say we are on the eastern side of the Mara Triangle. We are the eastern side. I would say more southeast of the Mara Triangle. That's where we are. More of southeast of the Mara Triangle. That's Roshni exactly where we are. And the pride of lions I'm talking about, the sausage tree pride of lions, tends to remain in this area. They don't venture very far from here. So we're in the southeast of the Mara Triangle, Roshni. All right, we're going to make a move and see if we'll be lucky to get this pride of lions and see those cubs. Personally, I have not seen those cubs. Daniel, if you're lucky to see the wildebeest when they're bringing down the babies, I was saying earlier, it's always in the month of February, and it's either the first week or the second week of February. They drop about anything from 500,000 babies to 600,000 babies. Will you believe that? 500 or about 500,000 babies in a span of 2 weeks. What I just saw, Manu, there, sorry to ambush you, I'm seeing a vulture either lying on the ground there. Not sure that should be a very good angle for you in terms of light, but it's rather unusual to see a vulture there, and not sure she's sunning herself or there's something wrong with her. So Daniel, yes, the wildebeest will drop about 500,000 babies in a span of 2 weeks in the month of February. There's a vulture there, and that's called the Rutile's Griffon Vulture. Rutile's Griffon Vulture. And I have no reason to, I can't understand why she's laying down there. I would guess she's not dead. And if she is, it'll be interesting because I don't remember seeing a dead vulture in my life. Yes, and just like you, all of you, I'm equally confused why she is there. The only one thing I would say, this particular type of vulture that I said is called the Rutile's Griffon Vulture, it is the highest flying bird. The highest flying bird in the world. They do 37,000 feet above the ground in flight. But the reason she is where she is, I do not know. You see the wind, it's blowing there, and I do not see any movement on her. I'll just try to reposition myself, maybe move forward and get to have a look on her head and find out what could be happening. It's very unusual. As I said, I have seen vultures eating anything and everything. The only one vulture I saw almost dead did not die. It got a small little whack or slap from a lioness way back, but it took off and it survived. Now I'm just going to watch the head and see if it's blinking or if it's going to move the head, because this is rather confusing. Manu, tell me at what point you want me to stop. Keep going. Yeah. Tonight we want to find out, because I can't see her breathing either, but the head seems to be raised from the ground, Janet. But this is quite unusual. She should have moved by now. I don't see any breathing. I don't see any... Oh, she moved her head. She is alive. Yes, most important, Janet, she is alive. But are you unwell or something? Vultures scavenge a lot, and they are known to eat everything and anything they find on the way. Anything that would have been brought down by cats, anything that would have died naturally, but they have pretty special digestion system that nothing causes issues in their tummies or in their bodies. So this, I would say, could be my very first one to see, which could be unwell. What could have happened? I have no idea. There are areas maybe way outside or on the periphery of the game reserve. People could be, poison them because of farming and maybe irrigation going on. I highly doubt that could be the case because we are very far from the community. But Anna Marie, it's possible she could be injured, and if she is, what could have injured it, Anna Marie? I mean, they're very careful, they're very strong birds, they take off very nicely, they land on very well. I don't remember seeing vultures fighting, but Anna Marie, well, that's a great way to look at it. There could be a possibility, yes, maybe she could have been injured. Snake bite, I highly doubt that hasn't happened. Or were you, hit by a predator? Because once they try to sneak to a kill, for example, of lions, as I said earlier, I've seen lions just using their paws to slap them. Now, I was saying earlier, there could be a possibility. We are not very close to the community that lives next to the game reserve, but we have areas in Africa where we have seen the numbers of vultures dropping because of poisoning by the farmers. But in the Mara, this could be the first case, but I can tell you, we haven't had cases. The neighboring people or the communities in the Mara have been very good. They get very well educated by the game rangers. We have never had a case of poisoning, so I would highly doubt that is the case. But chances to me, I think she could have been injured, or she could be maybe an old one. And of course, as we, animals get older, they're not at their best. But at one point, I saw her move her head, so meaning she is just maybe unwell or injured. This particular species of vultures tend to remain very high. If they're not feeding, they're either perched up on trees or just gliding and using the heat thermals to fly, or just to glide, out there in the sky, way many feet, thousands of feet above the ground. But you can tell she doesn't look to be in her best. Well, I'll spend a few more minutes here and find out whether she'll move and know what could be the problem. But in the meantime, let's go across to Taylor.
I've got some more very sad news to tell all of you. So, yesterday, Louise and we'd been promised a night at Chitwa by Dylan Leo Smith. Obviously, Dylan is one of our friends, and we see him often. And it was the first time that Louise and I actually got morning off together so that we could go spend the night and then obviously go on a game drive in the morning. Anyway, so that all worked out well, and it was very nice. I'm going to sit with these warthogs while I tell you this very sad story, because I think we're going to need some happiness here. Anyways, we had a wonderful safari. Saw all sorts of animals. We saw the Styx Pride. They're looking really good, and they were fat the night before, not last night, the night before that. They'd killed a wildebeest, which was awesome. And there's still, presence that there's mange there, but it's much better. It's the best I've ever seen them, which is awesome. Then we came across Sibuya's 2 cubs. Sibuya's a leopard, for those of you who don't know. I've never seen her before. She kind of just hangs out of our traverse. She sometimes pops onto Djuma. Anyways, her cubs are about, between 7 and 8 months old, and we got to see both of them, and one of the little girls posed so beautifully on a termite mound for us. However, she's just been killed by a big male leopard. The one cub is a lot more relaxed than the other, unfortunately it was the cub that was very relaxed. And they don't know who the leopard is. I saw his tracks on the floor. It's a big male leopard. They think it is, they don't actually know who it is, but it's apparently a male with a big scar above his right eye, and he's going south back towards Mala Mala now. So they are suspecting that it is a leopard from Mala Mala, but unfortunately nobody really got a good view. But maybe a guest managed to snap a photo. I believe it was quite a quick sighting. Very, very, very sad. But that is the way of life out here, and that's kind of just how it goes. And that's what if it's not that male's typical area and he comes across leopard cubs that he knows are not his, he is unfortunately going to take them out. But very, very sad news. And it's just happened now as well in the last 30 minutes or so. So that's not good. But again, it's just one of those things. Warthogs, be careful. There's a leopard on the loose. But I know a lot of you are going to be very sad and heartbroken again, but we must remember that this is nature, and this is how it just is. Remember, nature shows no mercy. And those leopards don't know that we look at it. Well, I don't, but some of you may look at it and go, it's wrong and it's not fair, but it is. It's just how it is. That cub was very relaxed, and perhaps that's what got it into trouble, whereas its sibling would slink away from the vehicles. And maybe it didn't even see that leopard coming. I'm not really sure what exactly happened. I'm hoping to find out a little bit more, but I just wanted to let you guys know before any serious rumors started spreading. But quite crazy. And the leopard cub is in a tree. The male leopard has taken it and put it in a tree, so I don't know if he's going to come back or what he's going to do. But these warthogs are having the best time ever. They're like digging for roots. Look at them go. Making big holes in the ground. Luckily, they're not doing it on the airstrip road, because I don't think an aeroplane would, not the road, so the runway, an aeroplane would specifically like to fall in a warthog hole. There's really not much for the warthogs to eat in terms of the top parts of the grass, but they're lucky. Impalas don't dig for, well, they also don't really eat roots. Look at all the dust there. So warthogs are awesome in that perspective, where they can actually utilize the part of the grass that's probably still alive Remember, with a lot of these grasses is that they'll last a year or two, and even though they go brown and grey on top or completely disappear, their root system is still underneath the soil and kind of just dormant, waiting for a bit of rain. So that's what they're going to be feeding on now, and that's where all the nutrients will be held to, is also in those roots. So it'll be a nice little sustenance boost for these piggies in this harsher time. But they're very relaxed. Obviously, if they're on the edge of the airstrip, they must have aeroplanes landing and going past them all the time. And maybe they even live close to Chitwa Lodge, which is why they are potentially so relaxed too. But lovely. Okay, we're going to carry on. I don't think there's much more on Chitwa, unfortunately, in terms of big cats, unless we find something ourselves, so we will try. We're just going to hug this southern boundary of Chitwa. We're going to drive it. And just sort of have a scratch around. I also don't know, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to answer too many more questions about the leopard sighting until I can find out more. Yes, and as I said, those pigs need to be careful, especially if Hukumori is around, although I think he's gone a bit further west. So Chitwa, from where Steve had the tracks, it sounded like he was towards the repeater, so far to the west, and we are much further southeast. So I don't know, he could have looped around and come back. He doesn't really spend much time on Chitwa anyways. I think he's going back to his home turf now. I think that is the case. I always make the mistake and go straight, and then I end up on a property I'm not supposed to. So I've now learnt my lesson, and I don't go straight. I take this side road. Covered in dust, all of a sardine. I'm looking forward to some rain, although I don't think it will rain today. I think these clouds will burn away and we'll go back to being an exceptionally hot day. I'll have to remember to put sunscreen on. We'll try. We will try. Oh yes, I did say that yesterday, that I'm going to have to put it on twice. Well, I've put it on my hands already, so I filled up the car and with fuel, obviously, and doing all the checks and things like that and wiping the car down. I cannot stand having dirty hands. It's the most... I can't tell you how it freaks me out. Don't mind if my hands are covered in mud and I'm working and I'm doing something, but as soon as I've finished that task, I need to wash my hands immediately. I have the weirdest little quirks. Anyway, so I went in and I washed my hands, and I probably put about soap on about 500 times, and I feel like I stripped all the natural oils from my skin. Sorry, VM. VM's just going under trees a little bit. The elephants have kindly dug the roots up on that tree and pushed it a little bit over. Anyways, and I then was too far to walk back to my room to go and get moisturizer, so I just used sunscreen as moisturizer. I don't know if you can do that, but I did. It was quite nice. It's not bad. I could probably do with a little bit more. Once you get feel on your hands, it's the worst thing ever. I can actually still slightly smell it. I'll have to put more on because at least it smells like coconut then, the sunscreen. It's nice. Okay, let's go, because I don't think we're going to see any predators at this rate. They're hiding from us. Let's ask for a big herd of elephants with lots of little babies, Liam. How do you feel about getting trumpeted at by a little elephant? Vince is a big bull. I'm still gonna stick with baby elephant. Right. Okay. I'm not sure where Steve is and what he's up to. Perhaps it's not Medicinal Monday, but I don't think he did Medicinal Monday yesterday. Maybe he's gonna have to tell you something today.
Well, thanks, Taylor. I've just found some probably Tingana, coming in down Mamba Road. Him, so it's possible, not even Tingana, but coming from the area where they were last seen, the mating pair, it's possible that the coupling is over for the moment. The way he's moving into the bush and doing scent marking and spraying, and maybe he was calling last night, and that is indeed why Hukumuri has now vanished off to the west. Not very easily to see his tracks, but they're coming straight down there. I'm just going to turn around and see if we can maybe maybe pick up on them. After some 2 or 3 days of mating, it's a good time for a male leopard to then re-establish his territory, because that is when interlopers are known to move in. They completely forget about everything except for the mating at the time. But he's on his own. There's no female tracks with him here, which is a good indication that he's probably done for the moment. This mating center. Okay, well, I wasn't going to check Treehouse Dam. We've checked twin dams, but now because these tracks are heading in an exact direction towards an area that we know he likes to frequent, we're going to pop on along there to Treehouse Dam and just have a look and see if he has indeed gone in that direction. Because we know, check the watering holes, that's the important part. Okay, well, watering hole.
Well, we have left the wildebeest, or rather we have left our vulture, the Rupert's Griffon Vulture, and we waited for a few more seconds, and as I started the engine, I saw her raise her head up. So the good news is she is alive, but definitely she has a problem. I'm not sure what the problem is, but she is alive. I might swing by there, maybe on my way back to camp later in the day, and find out exactly what could have happened or whether she is still there. And once in a while, when we see such situations, we'll report to the game rangers or the warden, and they might come and investigate, because as I said earlier, it's very unusual to see a vulture in that kind of situation. We haven't had cases of poisoning of vultures where we are, and personally, as I said before, I have never seen a dead vulture. So, but of course, I'm sure they also die. They get old, so age could be a factor. But for this one particular one, to me, she looked young, and from where she was, she seemed to be having some kind of duress, and I have no idea what it could be. Either, again, as I said, she's either unwell, or she could have been injured, and if injured, it's by who, and for what reason. We haven't seen, or we don't see vultures fighting, among us themselves, even for different species. So any reason she is injured, I have no idea. Gonna cross some very tricky place here. Man, hold on. Yes, it's a drainage. When it rains, that part is always very difficult to cross. Sorry, bring that question again. Let's just look at what could be there. Just bring that question again. Well, Victoria, oh, small little bird there, man. Is it a reserve? Victoria, we do not have any vultures here that I would say are endangered. There's one particular one, as I try to identify that bird there. Looks like a falcon to me. There's one that we call the lammergeier. The lammergeier is quite endangered, Victoria. Lammergeier. And we do not see them as we used to see, them before. Lammergeier, or the bearded vulture, Victoria, is quite endangered, and very few that are left in Kenya, and I can't remember the last time I saw one. We call them bearded vultures or the lammergeier. I'll try and see whether I can get one, and that looks to me like a falcon, and it could be what we call a Pygmy Falcon, and it's the smallest bird of prey we have in the world. That's Pygmy Falcon, I guess, and it's the smallest bird of prey that we have in the world. Okay, So try and get the lammergeier for you, which should be friends. I would say vultures don't get hunted because I do not think anybody will be hunting vultures either to eat them or for any reason. So vultures don't get hunted, and if they do get hunted, they'll get hunted either to get rid of them. They do not go to people's, say, homes to get, any carcasses, for example, of their cows or anything. But I would say vultures do not get hunted, but vultures hunt other, I would say other animals. When money you can, and you'll be able to come to my book here, I want to show Victoria the bird or the vulture that could be see that one there. So learn more, how long do vultures live for? I will be getting an answer for you later today. I have to say I might have forgotten my budding there. I'll be getting you the answer today for how long vultures live for before the end, most likely, of this drive. But now, Victoria, you had a question of vultures that could be endangered in Kenya. And if you go to the very top of the book there and you look at number 1, that one there. This is what, Victoria, we call the lammergeier. And I would say they're very, very endangered at the moment in Africa, and more so in Kenya. It's many years since I saw a lammergeier. Sometimes you also call it the bearded vulture, because if you look at one ear there, carefully you can see below the beak, it's like got some beards. So we either call them lammergeier or the bearded vulture. And these ones here are very endangered. Not one that I saw when I was in South Africa, and even in East African Kenya. It's many years since I saw the lammergeier. Alrighty, moving on. Maybe today could be the day we see the lammergeiers. Getting a bit windy now. Sorry, it's a bit windy. I missed that question, M, again. Just bring it again. Sorry, I had missed out of the question, but yes, we got lots of ground hornbills in the Mara, lots of them. And it's a lot easier to see the ground hornbills here in the Mara, I think, than in Djuma. I saw some in Djuma when I was there, but we have lots of ground hornbills here in the Mara. We got a little bird here, Manu, and it looks like to me like a curry bastard. I don't know if you can be able to get it. Ground hornbills are always, as the name suggests, on the ground, just like that bastard there. We have loads of ground hornbills in the Mara. And we call that a bastard. I need to see the belly to know whether it's the white-bellied bastard or the black-bellied bastard. It looks to me like a youngster. And it could be more so the white-bellied bastard. Just moving and hiding. All right, we've got so many bastards here. And one of the largest bastards we have is the curry bastard. All right, I think Steve might be having some very exciting news for us now.
Yes, indeed. Well, we did find tracks of a male leopard. I made the assumption it was Tingana, and we tracked him. I had the feeling, yes, it's very obvious. What's that sense? Yeah, there's a few Franklins around. I wonder if he's going to expend his energy on them. Any meal now will be a meal. Maybe he came towards Treehouse Dam because he had a lunch date with his son, but his son is not going to be there because the ever-elusive Hukumuri returned last night to chase Osana away. But we have the Duke, and he is looking in absolutely fine form. So excited to be seeing him. Haven't seen him for some time. Ravinda, that's a great question. I don't think Hukumuri and Shadulu really are going to move in conjunction. Sorry, the Franklins just have to shout themselves to us there. So we had, yesterday morning, we had tracks on the end of our walk. We had tracks of what Herbie reckons was most certainly Shadulu, not far from our camp, on a route that she very, very usually uses. It's possible that Hukumuri even followed her in, and that's how he got onto the property. We don't know. I don't think she will move in conjunction with him. I think they just, as the territorial behavior within Djuma maybe decreases slightly, like Tingana mating for a few days probably wasn't calling, wasn't scent marking, so kind of this void occurred, and Hukumuri took advantage of that. And so then Tingana probably sometime last night decided it was time to start becoming vocal again, and, well, Hukumuri has vanished west once again. So that's the purpose of male scent marking, and mainly for the calling. The calling is an obvious sign that the animal is there, and quite often you can find individuals will move away so as to avoid confrontation. And we were discussing it over dinner. We're not sure. None of us have seen it. But we'd wonder if there's ever been a confrontation between Hukumuri and Tingana. We spoke about it for months and months as Tingana was getting well. He went through a little stage of not being in his best. He hung around Chitwa Dam a lot, but in the last few months he's really come back into his own. And to see him, there's a very brave squirrel, and to see him mating is a very good sign that, well, the females are enjoying his comfort, his company, and that he is showing dominance. Oh, he's just shown interest in that squirrel now. Oh, now he's looked down again. The squirrel it is possible for him to catch it. He's looking like he might want to try catch it. The squirrel is really in a tentative position there. He's only about 4 or 5 meters away, and the squirrel doesn't know he's there, hasn't made any alarm call. Look at the change in behavior. His ears are flat. His eyes, he's looking at that squirrel foraging through the acacia tree, and he's probably summing up, is it possible for me to launch myself in there? There are enormous thorns in that tree. The squirrel's coming a little bit closer. Let's keep our eyes very well peeled. Oh, squirrel, you are asking for serious trouble. He's about 2 meters from him. He is eye level now with the Duke. Is a very brave squirrel. Tingana is a little bit tired. I don't think he really has the energy. He wants to eat something, but I don't know if he wants to put in the effort. The squirrel is very, very close to him. But that just goes to show how reliable or unreliable squirrels can be. Sydney said he was able to find Rosanna the night before due to a squirrel. But here we have a leopard 2.5 meters from a squirrel. And the squirrel, his body language is telling me that he's spotted something, but he's not making a sound. So when do we believe these individuals? I've been following Hukumuri once before, and only once he was 20-30 meters past the squirrel did the squirrel then start shouting. Sassy, you want to know if he's salivating? Well, he's going through bouts of interest and bouts of napping, but there doesn't seem to be any drooling happening from his mouth there. You don't necessarily see the salivating happening, excuse me, when they see food, but when male leopards interact with each other, there's an enormous amount of saliva that starts dripping from their mouths. Oh, well, he's just having a nap on top of the Termite Mound. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful picture indeed. This is the best view I can get to you for the moment, so it'll just have to do. Izanami, I haven't seen the new lady for a few days. We spotted her, I think, 2-3 days ago. I didn't get to see her on foot. We saw him on foot, and then they weren't seen again by any of our vehicles. They were spotted on Torchwood the following evening, at Torchwood Watering Hole, and they haven't been seen again since then that I know of. But I think the coupling is over. She's probably gone through her estrus cycle now, and well, just like that, the bonds between them are very temporary, and he has probably just left her to whatever it is that she was going off to do. But after a few days of mating, they end up becoming quite hungry, these cats, and so he's come back to a usual haunt of his, as I said before, to territorially demarcate it once again, as an interloper has been in. Not far, actually. Hukumuri wasn't far from where we are parked right now, but I'm sure Tingana the Duke would like to get something to eat. Yeah, the squirrel has got no voice. He is doing all of the body language of spotting something with the tail flicking. There he is. That's a typical behavior of a squirrel, but normally he's not doing it now. You might have heard the characteristic call of the black-headed oriole just before. The birds are on chorus this morning. It is a beautiful, cool morning. There we go. You hear the oriole. How marvellous. Well, we wanted to find Tingana, and we have found him, so that is a successful start to our morning. And I don't think he's going to be up to too much for a little while. I think he's had a little bit too much effort in the mating period. Joy, the purpose of the salivating, really, well, male leopards, when they fight, they get quite into it. First of all, saliva is a good antiseptic for leopards if they are injured. But I think the excitement, when it comes to them getting very, very excited about fighting each other, the salivation sort of builds up in their mouth. The purpose of it exactly is, I'm unsure, but it's mainly just to do with excitement and the fact that they're growling and there's lots of sort of aggression being showed to the other one. So it just tends to leak out of their mouth, and they need to keep their mouth nice and moist, and so the saliva just, I suppose, in anticipation of whatever brawl might come through. And you know, you've heard of the term, when a cat fights it spits and claws. Well, when a male leopard fights, there's a lot of claws and there's a lot of saliva that goes through. And I think it's just to do the excitement. I don't think there's any other purpose. But as I said, possibly due to the fact that there might be some injury, the saliva for licking the wounds will actually go a long way in sort of cleaning them and sort of taking away the foulness that is the leopard claws or the leopard teeth. Okay, well, the squirrel has moved a little bit further away. He's still got his eye on it. But it's always a cost, weighing up the energy versus the meal. I'm sure you've all experienced that, sitting on the couch and you want to just get a little snack. How much energy does it cost to get that snack? But anyway, we'll stay here with Tingana for the rest of the drive if we need to. But in the meantime, let's go back up to David Gitu in the beautiful and expansive Masai Mara.
Abo. Well done for a predator in Djuma, and maybe we might be seeing another predator here in the Mara. And look at that. Found a different predator here, and that's a male lion. And you can see how the grass is being blown by the wind. And this type of grass is the red oat grass. And the area we came looking for the sausage pride, you have not been lucky to see it, but at least we have found a different male here. That is the Salt Lake Coalition. It belongs to the coalition of males that we call the Salt Lake. Very well done, Nikki. And it's a youngster. For those who have never joined us before, we have a male lion that belongs to a coalition of lions that we call the Salt Lake. And we're not very far from the Salt Lake area. And you have once in a while seen the sausage pride of lions come into this area, and that's why we came here. But instead of the sausage pride, we found, oops, you can see some wildebeest running there. They're running for their life. See the amount of dust they're blowing. Very good job there, Manu. Not because they could be an animal that has spoke to them, but sometimes they just run for fun or just for exercise, being such an early morning. Is it a buffalo there? Yes, 2 buffaloes there. I do not know why they have to run, and those are not predators. But yeah, they had a question earlier, what would poke the wildebeest to run and cause a stampede? That's a typical example of what happens when sometimes they sense something that's not real. They just take off and run.
Can you move it down? Guys, Tingana's just killed a warthog. This might not be great for sensitive viewers. Might not be great for sensitive viewers. He has just killed this warthog. He was obviously waiting for it. He hasn't killed it yet. This is still happening. He needs to grab it around the throat. He's just got it on some element of the body. I'm not 100% sure. Wow, it just happens like that. It's quite a big female. He's holding on. He needs to get it around the throat. It made a squeal that could attract attention. He was waiting for the warthog to come out of the burrow. I was just about to reposition my car when this happened. This is awesome stuff. The warthog is still alive, I'm afraid, folks. He needs to get his teeth around the throat. The squeals that it gave off a moment ago could attract other predators. He needs to make sure that he stops the squealing. It hasn't made another noise since. Using the power of his front claws to hold it in place. Just need to quickly call this in on the radio, folks. Lex and Rex, if you want to make your way to the last position I mentioned of Tingana, he's in the process of killing a warthog. Two stations are on the way here. They might want to come a bit quicker if they want to see this action unfold. This is the first time I've ever seen Tingana make a kill. Jason, no, that's a pretty mature female warthog. It's a big animal. I mean, in size, it's probably not far off Tingana's weight. Now, I'd say probably, oh, it's still alive. It could still escape here, folks. It could still escape. If he lets go of it in any way, it could move off. Those razor-sharp tusks there, he needs to keep himself away. He needs to keep away from those tusks because they could disembowel him if it gets underneath him. Warthog's got very powerful neck, very powerful body. If they happen to get that nose underneath his belly and lift up, could quite easily move back a little bit, Sans. Just moving back an inch. A little bit more, eh? Sorry, folks. Just trying to get into the best position here. He's down in the drainage. Sans, tell me when you're happy. There we go. We've got him in the open now. This is nature, folks. This is how it unfolds. Predator and prey. The prey animal has been hiding in its burrow all morning, all night, and it has decided to come out. I had a feeling Tingana was waiting for something to come out, and he decided this would be a better meal for him than a squirrel. But this is the hard work that needs to take place. He hasn't quite got the neck hold properly there. And you can see it's a pretty decent sized female warthog. I don't think he would have a chance against a big male warthog. But as I said, bear in mind, this is not for sensitive viewers. Most certainly he was focused on something. He probably came here, smelt them and was waiting. He was pulling a hukumuri. He knew the warthog was still inside. He could probably hear it. He was biding his time, being very, very patient. Being very patient, and patience pays off. Now he just has to be patient enough to get the proper throttle on the neck. No, Sarah, the clause would just be to hold on, would not kill it. He needs to throttle it, he needs to suffocate the warthog. The only other way the warthog could die is if it gets eaten alive and it bleeds to death, but it's very difficult for a leopard to do that. So it has to throttle, has to strangle the warthog before it can start feeding. And the warthog's quite powerful, so it's going to be using all of its strength to hold on to it. We've got another vehicle coming in to join us. How amazing is this? Just calling Lex in. Your Lex is just down in the drainage here. He's still trying to kill it. See if you can get access. Just pull in right behind me. See if you can get an access there. How awesome is this? Raghu, I'm pretty sure he would be able to take it up a tree once he has eventually properly dispatched it. He would need to, because it's quite a lot of meat. It'd be difficult for him to eat all of that in one go. And he's in a very good area for taking kills of trees. I've had a sauna in exactly this area with an Impala kill. I've had hukumuri in this area, not with the kill. I've seen Tingana in this area. This little drainage line has got some really nice trees to take kills up. I think it was actually Faith, one of our directors, was on a game drive quite a few months ago, and she spotted Hosana just above where Tingana is now, in a tree with an Impala. It was a very good spot. Wow. I'm still trying to catch my breath. That happened so quickly. I was just about to turn my car on and turn around, and suddenly Senzo was shouting at me. I wasn't quite sure what had happened. And then the squeal of the warthog as Tingana launched probably about 3 meters down the slope onto the top of this warthog. I'm terribly sorry, folks. He is still alive. She is still alive. Annie, that is a strategy some animals do practice, called thanatosis, playing dead. I've never seen a warthog play dead before, but it could work for him or her. It could if she stays very still, and Tingana thinks eventually that it's dead. It might be able to escape, but he's holding on. He can feel every movement in the body. And leopards will hold on for as long as they possibly can. This can be the hardest part of the job sometimes. I remember when James was with Tandi, and Tandi killed a nyala, a young nyala bull. It took a very long time for her to kill it. She had to hold on, and afterwards they require an enormous amount of breathing space once the kill has taken place, because he's holding on with all of his strength now, as he knows he needs to secure this meal. But look how his ears are cocked in different directions. Anything could surprise him at the moment. If he heard movement coming in from behind, he would probably jump up and run up the Termite Mound or a tree. And that is one of the reasons, the hypotheses behind an animal's alarm call or distress call, that squeal the warthog does, or the bleating call a buffalo or a duiker do when they get caught, is that if a predator was attracted to that call. They coming in now could distract Tingana. He could let go and the warthog could actually survive. But that is if a predator does join the scene. I think they would have already approached by now. It has been a good few minutes. But he has to still be very careful. He can't be caught unawares. It seems as if the life has drained from the warthog. What do you think, Senzo? I think he managed to get a decent enough grip on the neck, but warthogs have got a very powerful neck. And when we see Hosan... Jasmine, you want to know how long it takes normally? Well, the warthog kills that I've seen, Hukumuri has done very good, very well, but they were youngsters, and he would just snap them on the back of the neck, essentially severing the spinal cord, and that seemed to work very quickly. The problem when you go underneath like this, I saw the Nkuhuma Pride kill a very big male warthog. Sorry, Sens, I'm just going to take my foot off the brake. My foot is killing me. There we go. Sorry about the movement. I watched the Nkuhuma Pride, had the warthog on its belly, and they were trying to suffocate it with their teeth in its throat, but it had such a thick set neck that they really struggled to. And eventually, after 9 minutes of them eating it, it eventually stopped breathing, or I think the blood eventually gave way and they passed away from blood loss and shock. So I don't know, there's no sort of set time. If a leopard or a lion gets an animal in the right spot on the throat, it should only take about a minute or so for them to suffocate. But if they don't get the windpipe properly on the neck and the animal's still able to breathe, well then that is just what happens. They'll still be breathing, they'll be held on, and unless the animal, the leopard, is able to inflict some serious injury, they could bleed to death through that wound. But normally it's the suffocation that is required. And it seems as if the warthog has stopped moving, but he's going to hold on as long as he needs to make sure that it's dead. How incredible is this? We might drop a little one-word tweet out there, everybody. What do you think, one-word tweet, about this interaction this morning with the aging Duke? Drop it through to hashtag safariLIVE. And while we wait for that, let's go back up to David in the Masai Mara.
Well, that is quite epic with Tingana, and the male lion we saw has repositioned himself and went to a place that's a bit rocky, and we have left him alone. But there is a group of wildebeest, huge herd of wildebeest, not very far from here. We also position ourselves where we can see him and see the wildebeest. Most likely he might decide to hunt. So the wildebeest I'm talking about are the ones you see in front of us there. I'm going to show you the wildebeest I'm talking about. And from where they are, there's a salt lick area where animals have always come for a drink. So that male lion is on the other side of this wildebeest, and between them too is the salt lick or some area that is always having water all around the year. And I'm sure his guess is they might come for a drink, and if that happens, he will maybe sneak on one of them. Thompson gazelles in front of those wildebeests. When you talk of migration, sometimes you have also seen Thompson gazelles moving together with the wildebeest. We'll always see wildebeest, zebras, elands, occasionally toppies, and the Thompson gazelles. I love calling them Tommies once in a while. Look at the massive number of the wildebeest. I do not know how many I've seen today, but we have seen a couple of thousands of these animals all the way to the horizon. It couldn't be long before they start heading towards south now. And as much as they came in late, we all think they might also stay a little bit longer before they head down to Tanzania. Remember, this is a very interactive safari. If you have any comments or questions, you can tweet on hashtag safariLIVE. And that's the salt area I was talking about, the salt lick area I'm talking about. If you look on that sedge there, it doesn't look very nutritious and nobody's eating it, and it remains green in that area. I just saw the two birds there, or the Egyptian geese there. They look like Egyptian geese to me. So this area will have water, and of course Egyptian geese are known to be found near area with water. So we call this area the salt lick, and just on the edge of it we have seen animals, instead of coming to drink, they'll come and lick the salt like there, where man is showing on the edge of this area. They lick either for calcium, phosphorus or magnesium, and then they are able to move on. The wildebeest may need that because come February, when they'll be dropping the young ones, they need lots of calcium to be able to lactate and have good quality milk for their calves. I've always wondered, you know, what formulas used to estimate the number of wildebeest when they migrate, and I've always said it's anything about 1 million. We'll try and count how many wildebeest we have here, but in the meantime, let's go across to Steve.
Thank you very much, David. Well, Tingana is still holding on. The warthog, there's been no movement from the tail. Okay, he's finally letting go. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The warthog is officially dead. You see there's some blood on his chest there. Lynn from Canada, your one-word tweet is bacon. Indeed, well, he has got himself some bacon this morning. And now you can see how he's catching his breath. That was quite an effort. Warthog, for their size, are extremely powerful individuals. They are just muscle. There's not really much fat on them. Lots of muscle, very strong. And he did very well to stay away from those tusks. They aren't the biggest of tusks, but they still, with the power of the warthog's body and head, have the potential to cause some serious harm to a leopard. You saw Kenya the other day just walk straight past a big male warthog with huge tusks. Didn't even look at him. Didn't even look at him because, you know, it's just too big an animal with those tusks. Live to fight another day is the decision made. But Tingana threw his entire body on the line at this warthog, jumped off underneath that tree that the squirrel was in before, and landed on the top of the warthog, and then wrestled it all the way to the bottom of the bank there. I've no doubt he's quite tired now, and he's now trying to sum up the best tree that he should now carry his quarry into. He might feed a little bit on it first, once he's caught his breath. He's going to figure out where exactly to take it. There are a number of really nice trees around, so he is spoilt for choice. Sorry, I didn't get that, M. There we go, you see the blood. Okay, well, he's moving around to the other side of the drainage to a very nice tambuti tree that actually that Hosana had a kill. That's the exact tree that Hosana had, that Faith spotted him in a while ago. You can see his eyes, he's looking up. Okay, we're going to go around to the other side. Crystal, jaw dropping, indeed. That's a very good use of jaw dropping. Not for the warthog, though. Not for the warthog. He's going to go around the other side. There's a very nice track over there. We can see him hoist that individual up that tambuti tree. get behind. Sorry. Cheers, guys. We're just going to come around the other side. We'll come around the other side. I know there's a few other vehicles that want to come and see this, but you know, when we find it, it's our sighting, so we'll spend some time here. Don't you worry, but we will be considerate and give other people a space if need be. But we've put in the hard work. We found that the leopard doing his thing, and so we get rewarded, or should I say you all get rewarded with being able to spend some extra quality time. Get him up that tree. Duke, you say patience. Well, we don't know how long he's been sitting there for. I believe Tingana was once with someone. He spent the entire evening on a termite mound, and they found him the next morning still on the same termite mound, and then I think he killed a warthog. So that is proper patience. I think it's paid off for him this morning. I've sat with Hukumuri before for 2 hours before he finally killed a warthog that came out. So it's all about patience in this animal kingdom. And if you do have patience, well, it does reward you. So here, there's a nice little track going in. Let's see if we can spot him. David, I've never seen a warthog. It's gone through, eh? I've never seen another warthog save another warthog. Has he gone through? Say.
It's under the tree there.
Okay, I can't see him. We're going to have to go around to that other spot there. He's hiding. He's hiding us. Let me just get out of here now. Another little spot just up ahead. Sorry folks, my lack of eye contact. We're just trying to get you into the best position to see this beautiful male leopard. Okay, well, while we try and get you into the best spot available, let's go and see what Taylor's up to.
Well, we're actually going back to camp now because I had a flat tire yesterday afternoon, and I obviously had to change it, and then all of a sudden the valve in this tire just went for like 15 seconds, and there's let a fair amount of air out of my tire, so I'm gonna have to quickly go and pump it. It's now stopped though, so I don't actually know what's going on. Bizarre. Oh well. And then there's also been rumors that there was a leopard on the northern side of the dam, of Rutile Dam, but I don't know. I've looked, I can't see any leopard tracks anywhere. It'll probably, if it is anyone, it'll be a Hosanna, but he hasn't crossed any of those roads though, so if you can maybe just keep an eye out to that side. There's a lot of Impala around, so maybe he's just lurking in the bushes. But unfortunately there's some guests in Gallagher camp. Started driving down and around, I saw someone in their white dressing gown. Promptly turned around and came back. Oh my gosh, BM, we gotta get home. Sorry everyone, I have to go back to camp because I don't have another tire on this car. I'm gonna try and make it back to camp to quickly pump the tire and take one of the other vehicle's spare tires while mine gets repaired. Okay, well, we're gonna do this. Off we go to the Mara, back to David, and hopefully I'll make it back to camp.
Well, good luck, Taylor. And our lion has lied flat on the grass and we can't see it anymore. And if he may decide to hunt, the only thing we thought he would go for will be the wildebeest. In the meantime, we came closer to the Salt Lake itself, and we found some buffaloes here. And our wildebeest, maybe not sure it is in the wrong place. Some egrets and some sacred ibis. well, pretty soft grass, I would say, for that wildebeest. I think there's a youngster there. And you notice she is not eating the taller dark sage, which is of very pure nutrition value. But on the other side of the coin, it tends to hold the water areas, especially this particular area. And yeah, we picked up, doesn't have any horns. I was just wondering, it's not a calf, but it must be having some genetical issue, because we do not, you know, dehorn animals here in Africa, or in East Africa, more so in Kenya. But I think if you look at her carefully, she doesn't have a single horn. And I'll just say that is something, you know, genetical. Once in a while, we have seen that. But it's quite some time since I last saw a wildebeest without horns. I've only seen one, or a wildebeest with one horn, either on a fight it lost one, or again for genetical reasons. Jason, yes, I agree with you. That's how she looks like. But I would want to know, I wouldn't think it was an infection, because when you look at her, Jason, she looks to be in very good shape, health-wise. So this, she must have been born without horns. That happens once in a while. Manu, do you remember seeing one without horns? How long ago born without horns? Manu tells me he has never seen one without horns. And no wonder she is in a very, you know, unusual place. She isn't with the rest of the herd. She's tagging along with the buffaloes in that, you know, that kind of marsh area, even call it a marsh area. We have always called it a salt lick area, to get maybe very soft grass and lots of water to drink. Otherwise, from where she is and the rest is about a kilometer away. And maybe because of her abnormality, also she chooses to be on her own. I would guess she also feels quite old, or she feels she doesn't look similar to the others. Lots of birds in that area, and you look at the buffalo to the right of that wildebeest is being surrounded by the cattle egrets, and those egrets, what they do, as the buffalo moves and disturbs the grass they are feeding, any insects that jump up, that's what they tend to feed on. But the sacred ibis are the ones that are black and white in color. Those ones should be feeding on all the invertebrates that could be in that water. Frogs, fish, worms, mollusks, any invertebrate that is in that water, that's what the sacred ibis should be feeding on. But if you look carefully, the egrets are just waiting for the buffalo to make a move, and they would catch anything that jumps. Hunter, most animals that are, you know, horned are always born with horns, albeit being small when they're born. And of course, they develop and they grow bigger as they get older. But Hunter, this is one unique case, and my guess is she was born without horns. Otherwise, if she would have lost one through a fight, you know, or one could be broken, or she could be losing, she could have lost one. But you look on the skull there, there's like a gaping hole. So my belief here, Hunter, is she was born without any horns, which is rather quite unusual. I mean, all these animals will need horns, and if it's males, they'll need them for fighting, to defend themselves. And it looks like to be like a youngster, you know, a young calf, not very old, by the virtue of the fur being pretty dark and the size. And that makes it very tricky to be on her own there. If predators would come here, I would say they will not go for the buffaloes, but will go for this youngster. Trying to run out of that water. We've got two buffaloes running there. I do not know why they're running. Whoops. It's a good run, good exercise. And you can see they also spocked the wildebeest calf to a run. Not sure what they saw or what made them run. And definitely not the lion you saw, and then they just face back. and look in the direction of where that male lion we saw earlier, they might have seen it. I mean, from where he was, he lay down and we couldn't see it anymore because of the tall grass. But these animals, knowing their survival, they got very good, smell, and I would say they might have picked it and we can't from where we are. So they'll always run and turn around and look at the predator to show him or her, we can see you, don't play any games with us. And then occasionally we'll always have standoff between the two. So not sure they're looking at us or at the direction where that lion was. Indigo Girl, I agree with you. All the buffaloes we are seeing here, Indigo Girl, I would say they are males, and look at the size of that rack of horns, Indigo Girl. That is a big, big boy. And in Africa, we know the animals that have caused, or they still cause, a lot of harm to people are either buffaloes or hippos. And Indigo Girl, the village I come from, we have suffered more in the hands of buffaloes than any other animal. Apparently, when the boys get old from the buffalo kingdom, they're shown the door by the females and they tend to leave alone. If you look at them, you can also tell from the sheath there, that's a male. Lilac oxpeckers will hang with any herbivore that will carry or will be infested by ticks or mites. But I've always seen oxpeckers more with buffaloes than any other animal. And you can see there's an egret there enjoying well, not much to do. It knows it doesn't have, it will not benefit a lot there. And think now there's an oxpecker if you look carefully. So that's an oxpecker on top of that buffalo. And they'll be trying to get ticks or mites from them. So yeah, oxpeckers, I've seen them more on buffaloes than any other animal. Maybe a few more there. Truly a big boy. So I was saying earlier, the village I come from, these are the animals that have a lot of human-wildlife conflicts. And when they get old, they're shown the door by the females. And that way they become very grumpy. We will always make sure we don't get close to them when we meet them on the roadside. Well, let's find out what Tingana is up to now.
Yeah, well, he's moved himself into quite a thick little area there. He's caught his breath and he now is starting to eat the warthog. This is the best position we could find for viewing him. And it's not very easy. So if we hadn't found him on top of the Termite Mound, well, there's no chance we would have found him in there. The tracks obviously led in this direction. And we do actually, I think Senzo can get it from here, the hole that the warthog came out of, that is the Termite Mound up there. There's the hole, and he was perched just on top of the Termite Mound, just a little bit more up. And he launched himself probably about 2.5 meters, 3 meters, onto the back of the warthog, and then they tackled each other all the way down the slope, all the way down there. And we watched those final death throes of the warthog was down at the bottom of that depression. Beautiful habitat for leopard. Chris, I reckon that warthog probably weighed in the region of about 35 to 40 kilograms, but that's just the thumb suck at the moment. So what's that, about 70 odd pounds? I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure. But it was a decent-sized female. It wasn't a fully grown female, but it was definitely a decent-sized female. It wasn't a big male, but I reckon probably about 30 to 40 kilograms in weight. Let's go back, have a look there. I estimate she was probably just over half the weight of Tingana, so probably around there. Anna Marie, that's a really good question. And probably due to the size of it, it's a good couple of days. He is quite hungry because he probably hasn't eaten in a few days because he's been off on a little bit of a honeymoon. So he'll probably eat most of it today, or a lot of it today, and then he'll just sit with it for probably another day, I would say. Probably last him 2 days. It really depends. It's hard to say out here due to the fact that so many animals are losing their kills to hyena, to other leopards as well. I don't think Tingana is going to lose it to another leopard, but I reckon he might spend a day and a half, 2 days feeding on this warthog, the whole of today, and then probably by about tomorrow afternoon he'll probably be ready to move off and do some more hunting, or maybe just at least convey more of his attention to his territorial boundaries. You need energy to be able to traverse your boundaries, your territory. So first things first, he needed some nourishment. And once he is feeling good and strong again, because I think a few days of mating without eating takes its toll on these cats. So first things first, they need to eat. And well done. His patience, we don't know how long he sat on top of the Termite Mound for, but he was successful. Wisteria, I don't think Hosana would get any of this kill. I believe Hosana is back towards Vuatela and Galagopans again after Hukumuri yesterday, so a little bit too far off for him to just come across Tingana, but Tingana doesn't necessarily share with Hosana. It's Hosana who has to share his meat with the aging Duke, but maybe Hosana is going to be a little bit more reluctant to approach other male leopards after his nearly confrontational experience with Hukumuri yesterday. And the way I heard it from Sydney, it almost seems as if Hosana thought it was Tingana and so approached him sort of in an interesting way, and then next thing the newcomer took off after him and chased him an enormous distance. So I think Hosana is going to just steer clear of other leopards for a couple of days until he gathers his wits about him again. Anything could have happened if the two of them had caught each other, but I do think it is necessary. Hukumuri moving in, giving Hosana a little bit of discipline. Maybe it will force the young gentleman to move off onto new territories, new grounds, because Tingana is being all too tolerating of the youngster. Oh wow, look at that. The boerbean is flowering. Linda Gale, the hyenas they could easily catch the scent of the warthog if once he opens up the stomach, but I don't think hyena would be too much of an issue for Tingana. They would just sort of maybe follow him around. If they came in en masse, they could probably chase him off. But it's getting to that time of day where it's starting to get a little bit warmer, and the chance of the hyenas moving around now, probably not likely. But he's in this depression. Any wind that is coming is settling down here. It's not actually picking anything up and going away. But what I just saw now is the boerbean, the scotia, the weeping boerbean, is in flower. And the reason it's called a weeping boerbean is these beautiful red flowers actually weep nectar. They weep nectar and they drip onto the ground, and an enormous amount of insects and birds proliferate in these trees. So there we go, beautiful boerbean. You can see the compound leaf there. They've got access to the water table, growing next to Termite Mound in this sort of dry riverbed, and so they are flowering and encouraging the insects and the birds to have some fun. It is always a very nice tree to spend time with if you enjoy birding. You spend time with a pair of binoculars underneath a flowering boerbean and you will always have a very good time. Yes, Mrs. Zera, the spring is definitely in the air. And that is the second tree flower that I have found. So slowly but surely they are happening. But let's go back over to Tingana and see if we can actually get a little bit more of him eating. That's a beautiful specimen. Aaron, that's a really good question. Most females generally go up a tree quite quickly. Hosana didn't used to take them up straight away, and he lost a lot of kills. He's learned to take them up quite high. He lost his kill to the lions the other night because he didn't go up as high or up the best tree, I say. I thought it looked like a good tree in the night, but looking at it the next day, it wasn't a great tree. And then the next day, he took a kill very high up a tree. There was no lion who was going to get that, but then a male leopard called on the scenes, and then there's no chance. But quite often you find male leopards will feed on the ground with a kill for quite a period of time until they're not feeling that hungry anymore, and then they'll hoist it up the tree just as a way of keeping it safe up there. But they're not too bothered by hyena coming in, male leopards that is. And once they've taken a bit of the weight off of the kill, they will hoist it. But it is in their best interests to get it up a tree if they want to enjoy the entire animal. But there's no set rule for who takes it up and when they take it up. It really is dependent on the cat and on the day. Hukumuri didn't tend to take kills up a tree very often until he was well into eating it, and then he'd take it up the tree. But it really is dependent. I remember a leopard I used to know of in the Singita area in the Kruger Park that I never saw him up a tree with the kill. He was always on the ground feeding on it. But that's not to say he never took things up the tree. Each individual is slightly different, and their evolutionary trait of taking it up a tree does make them a little bit more successful. So it is in their best interests. But for most of the day, he should be okay on the ground. He's in a very secret little spot there. I don't think anything is going to come across him. The squeal of the warthog could have attracted anything, but has not done so. So he will eat at his leisure for quite a few hours until he is satisfied, and then very likely he'll then take it up a suitable tree where it will sit in the sunshine and become a proper bit of dried out pork bacon in the top of the tree. Okay, well, David Gitu is still counting his wildebeest. Hopefully that doesn't put him to sleep. Let's go and see at what number he has managed to get to.
Well, I'm not... Oops, is it time to mate? Oh, I thought most of these females, yeah, could be pregnant, but again, it could be anyone that might have missed. All right, are you having fun or are you actually mating? Looks to me like a pretty young bull to be mating. By the time all these wildebeest get here, most of them will be pregnant. And we are looking at what? October, November, December, January, another 4.5, 5 months now, they'll be dropping their young ones. Or what we're hearing here is, and I never know what that means. Either it's a north or a south, east or west, because you'll see them at one point moving in a particular direction, and then within a few minutes they just turn around and go in the opposite direction. Excuse me, or exactly where they came from. More wildebeest than zebras, just having a bit of fun now. Not much of them are eating. So the ones that you always see running up, down like that are the loudest, and in general, they are the males. And how nice just to see him trotting there in the midst of the whole group. And definitely maybe looking for a female to mate with. When they're doing that, they'll be trying to entice some females, if any of them could not be pregnant. And you see, I'm not sure the girls or the females are willing. He's not giving them any peace. Alrighty, hopefully you'll be lucky. We're gonna move on. And my destination or my plan today was to get the Soldier Tree Pride. Australia, yes. I mean, when you look at that, it tells you exactly what is going through his mind. And he doesn't look to be a very happy boy, I would say. Pretty grumpy, and that's not how you approach females. Either he doesn't know who he wants, not a very friendly face, as much as difficult to tell what an animal is. Look at how he runs. Oops, Now there's a fight now between the two, eh? I definitely said two bulls. And Australia, I agree with you. He is very grumpy. And no wonder he is going physical with another male. They don't fight over females in general. Once in a while they may. But as you know, Australia said, he is grumpy and not in very good mood. Now decided what female he want to mate with and causing a lot of havoc among them. You need to settle down, be a happy bull, and that will make your life much easier and better. You might see him going again on the run. Raw material looking at about 250 kilograms, 500 or so pounds. That should be like some of the heavy males. 250 kilograms, 500 plus pounds. Those will be the big bulls in or when they're very prime. Yeah. And sometimes I've always thought it's total confusion of this wildebeest knowing not being very sure whether to go north or south. And no wonder they got the collective noun of an implausibility of wildebeest. An implausibility of wildebeest. Sometimes they call them a confusion of wildebeest. Alrighty, we'll just move on and